Frey sword and the giant belly, a tale in Astrid Lindgren style. Have you heard of Frej? He was a god who lived in Asgard long, long ago. Frej was the kind of god who made flowers grow and animals feel happy. He was kind and handsome, and everyone liked him. But the most special thing Frej had was his sword. Oh, what a sword it was! It wasn't like other swords, you know. This sword could fight all by itself if it needed to. One beautiful summer day, when the sun was shining and the birds were singing in Asgard, Frey's sister Freya came running. Her face was all red, and she was out of breath. Frej! Frej, she called. Do you know what the giant belly is saying about you? Frej, who was just petting a little rabbit, looked up. No, what's he saying? He says you're a wimp. That you can't even hold a sword. Freya stomped her foot so hard that her golden shoes sparkled. Frej chuckled. Oh, does he now? Well, giants say all sorts of things. But Freya wouldn't give up. But Frej. He's challenged you. He says he can beat you with one hand tied behind his back. Now Frej got a bit serious. You see, even though he was a kind god, he didn't like being called a coward. Well then, he said, giving the rabbit one last pat on the head, I suppose we'll have to see about that. And so came the day when Frej was to meet the great giant Belle. Belle was so big that he almost blocked out the sun when he walked up. His laugh sounded like thunder, and his hands were as big as boats. Ho ho ho. Belle laughed. Is this the little god who's going to try to beat me? Frej, who barely reached the giant's knees, just smiled. Big words from a big mouth, he said calmly, shall we see who laughs last? And so the fight began. Belle swung his huge fists, trying to hit Frej, but Frej was as quick as a weasel. He jumped here and there, and every time Belle thought he had hit him, Frej was somewhere else. Stand still, you little flea. Belle roared in frustration. Why should I? Frej laughed. It's so much fun to dance. And while Belle got more and more tired, Frej danced around with his magic sword. The sword gleamed in the sun and did pirouettes in the air as if it was having fun. Finally, Belle sank to his knees, sweaty and out of breath. How? How can you be so fast? He panted. Frej patted the giant on the arm. Dear Belle, sometimes it's better to be small and fast than big and strong. But you fought well. Shall we be friends instead of enemies? And so it was. Frej and Belle shook hands, or rather, Frej shook Belle's pinky finger, and they became good friends. But our story doesn't end here, for soon after this, something happened that would change everything for Frej. One day when he was out for a walk, he saw the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. Her name was Gerda, and she was a giant's daughter. Frej fell so in love that he could neither eat nor sleep. He just sighed and gazed up at the stars. Oh, what shall I do? He complained to his servant Skirnir. I must meet Gerda, but she lives so far away in Jotunheim. Skirnir, who was a good friend, said, I can travel there and talk to her for you. But Jotunheim is a dangerous place. How will I defend myself? Then Frej did something unexpected. He took his beloved magic sword and gave it to Skirnir. Here, he said. Take my sword. It will protect you. Skirnir was surprised. But Frej. It's your most prized possession. Are you sure? Frej nodded solemnly. For the love of Gerda, I gladly give away my sword. And so Skirnir set off with the magic sword. After many adventures, he managed to convince Gerda to meet Frej. When Gerda and Frej finally met, they fell in love at once. They got married and lived happily for many, many years.